Good. Good. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the Bhagavad Gita Study Circle. And we are in 136th session. And today we are going to start a brand new chapter, that is chapter number 13. So it's a very special chapter. There are many wonderful things that we are going to learn in this chapter. And this is a very important aspect of the Bhagavad Gita because uh, the most philosophical things are going to be discussed by Krishna in this particular chapter. Okay, so this 13th chapter, which is actually called the nature, the enjoyer, and the consciousness. So Prabhupada names it as the nature, the enjoyer, and consciousness. Very important because this is going to explain the fundamentals of spiritual life. Now, although Krishna has explained certain very important things in the second chapter, in the third chapter, about the core aspects of spirituality, but here Arjuna wants to know more. He wants to understand uh, the fundamentals more deeper, and that is how it happens. When we also want to study, we begin our studies in the first standard, second standard. We learn mathematics, but when we learn mathematics, it's very basic and fundamental. Now, as we grow, now then we want to learn more advanced. We want to learn, algebra. We want to learn geometry. We want to know calculus, and then it's the days of AI now. So artificial intelligence. There are many things that we want to learn. We want to go deeper into understanding the science and technology, right? So similarly, Arjuna also, although he has heard some fundamentals of spirituality from Krishna in the previous chapters, but he's going to ask questions which are more deeper. He's again asking them because he wants to understand them in a deeper way. And that is how Bhagavad Gita is, because there is no end to the level of depth it has. Because the more purified we become, the more deeper we can dive into Bhagavad Gita. So those who are actually materially attached, those who are still on the platform of sense gratification, they really cannot dive deeper. They'll be floating on the top. So that is why when we are actually understanding Bhagavad Gita, it is important that along with reading, understanding, hearing Bhagavad Gita, we also practice the sadhana aspect, because sadhana helps us to purify. The more we get purified, the more actually the deeper we will be able to dive into Bhagavad Gita. So both are important. We cannot just theoretically practice Bhagavad Gita. So this particular aspect of Bhagavad Gita, or this section of the Bhagavad Gita, is very important now. Like we have previously understood that how there are 18 chapters. The first 6 chapters talk about the karma, different types of karma, right? And about the self. Those are the aspects described in the first 6 chapters: Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga. And in the middle 6 chapters, it is about the Bhakti Yoga, where Krishna speaks about the relationship between the soul, the super soul. Also, what are his opulences, why we should actually worship him. The Virata Rupa we have seen, the Vibhuti Yoga that we have seen. So that is the middle 6 chapters, that is 7 to 12, that we have finished in the last session. But this section, that is the last 6 chapters from 13 to 18, Prabhupada explains that these are the jnana section, the section where the knowledge is revealed. Now, what is that knowledge? That we will understand in this sessions going forward. So this is very, very important aspect, and why it is important, we will understand. So before we begin the session, let's begin with the pranam mantras, and let's dedicate this session to His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON and my beloved spiritual master. So kindly join your palms and chant along with me the pranam mantras. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishnapreshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyat Deshatarine जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः. Hare Krishna. So welcome all of you once again to the Bhagavad Gita study circle. And today we are starting a brand new chapter, that is chapter number 13. And it is about Prakriti, it is about uh, who is the enjoyer, who is uh, the maintainer, and all these different aspects of jnana are going to be described in this particular chapter. And let's see what Arjuna has to ask, because after listening to the 12th chapter where Krishna has spoken so much about devotional service, I think in 12.7 Krishna promises, he states that Arjuna, that I ensure that my devotees, they come out of these clutches and I free them, I give them the freedom. So after giving that promise to Arjuna, Krishna also wants to fulfill that promise. So Krishna has said that but those who worship me, Krishna is promising, those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Pritha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. See, what is the promise? So Krishna has given a promise that I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So it is not simply delivering, but also delivering swiftly for those who are actually dedicated to Krishna, devotional service. So Krishna has promised. So now, how he actually delivers the bhaktas, that is what Krishna is going to continue. That's the connection between chapter 12 and 13. So the connection between chapter 12 and 13 is that Krishna has promised something in the chapter 12, and now Krishna is going to explain to Arjuna that how he actually fulfills this, how he delivers his devotees, that he is going to explain from now. So very important. So Dave, you can unmute yourself and let's chant the 13th verse. Very important. Arjuna Uvacha
अर्जुन उवाच
Prakritim Purusham Chaiva
प्रकृतिं पुरुषं चैव
Kshetram Kshetragnam Evacha
क्षेत्रं क्षेत्रज्ञम् एव च
Etadveditam Ichchami
एतद्वेदितुम् इच्छामि
Jnanam Gneyam Cha Keshava.
ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं च केशव।
Once again. Arjuna Uvacha
अर्जुन उवाच
Prakritim Purusham Chaiva
प्रकृतिं पुरुषं चैव
क्षेत्रज्ञमेव च
क्षेत्रं क्षेत्रज्ञम् एव च
एतद्वेदितुम् इच्छामि
एतद्वेदितुम् इच्छामि
ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं च केशव.
ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं च केशव।
Let's do the second verse also. श्रीभगवानुवाच
श्रीभगवानुवाच
इदं शरीरं कौन्तेय
इदं शरीरं कौन्तेय
क्षेत्रम् इति अभिधीयते
क्षेत्रम् इति अभिधीयते
एतद्यो वेत्ति तं प्राहुः
एतद्यो वेति तं प्राहुः
क्षेत्रज्ञ इति तद्विदः.
क्षेत्रज्ञ इति तद्विदः।
Wonderful. So please read the translation.
Arjuna said, "Oh my dear Krishna, I wish to know about Prakriti. nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, and the field and the knowledge of the field, and of knowledge and the object of knowledge. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "This body, O son of Kunti, is called the field, and one who knows this body is called as the knower of the field." Hare Krishna.
Yes, very nice, very interesting. So, very important questions that Arjuna has asked here. And let us understand them one by one. So, basically, this whole chapter 13, if we see, it has certain very important sections, and that is like this is the overview of chapter 13. You can acronym, you can have it as like WISE. Now, what happens here? W, which is WISE questions. So, from verse number 1 to 7, Arjuna is asking very wise questions, and Krishna is also going to answer them. And then, of course, later elaborate. Now, I stands for items of knowledge from verse number 8 to 12. And then there is also S, that is soul and super soul. We'll understand more about soul and super soul, Atma and Paramatma, from verse number 13 to 19. And E is enjoyer, that is from 20 to 35. So these are different things that we are going to understand in this particular uh, chapter 13. So there are wise questions, there are items of knowledge. We'll understand about Atma and Paramatma and enjoyer, that is Purusha. And all these questions that Arjuna has asked in the first verse, and all those things will be answered by Krishna, if not in a sequential way, but he will cover all the answers. Very, very important. So now let us understand that why these are wise questions. And first of all, like I said earlier, that there is a connection that this chapter is going to explain about jnana. Why jnana is required? Because, see, we all have something which we are not supposed to have. That is called anartha. Anartha means artha is something that is supposed to be there within us. Suppose something that we want. That is artha. Anartha means that which is not wanted. But there are something unwanted which are there in our consciousness. That is called anartha. So those anarthas have to be removed from our consciousness. And those anarthas can be removed from our consciousness only when we have jnana. So see, now this is a direct link. What is that link? We have certain impurities. Those impurities have to be removed. Now, if you have to remove that, you need knowledge. Any field of activity, whether it is cooking or whether you go to a mechanic, everybody, if he has to repair a vehicle, he has to know certain things about the car or the vehicle. Only with jnana, he can clean the carburetor, he can clean all the unwanted things and then purify it. That is how they remove and they purify the whole thing, right? That is why we give our vehicles also for servicing. So, similarly, Krishna is saying that this human body or human form of life, we need servicing. We are supposed to service our human consciousness. Why we have to service our consciousness? Because it is filled with so many anarthas, right? Why? What kind of anarthas? The very first thing is anarthas means unwanted attachments. Now, we have attachment for our phone, we have attachment for our body, we have attachment for our family members, we have attachments. And all these attachments are actually anartha. So we are saying that these attachments are anarthas? Yes. Because the soul is supposed to get attached to Krishna. But now that attachment which is supposed to be there for Krishna is now directed to all these material things. So that's the problem. So what jnana does is it actually helps us detach from our phone, helps us detach from our material body, helps us detach ourselves from so-called family relationships, all these unwanted things which are becoming an impediment for us to connect with Krishna is going to be detached by understanding this jnana. And it is a slow process. It's not that today I get to know something and immediately tomorrow I'm going to become free from all attachment. It's not going to be like that. It is going to take its own process, its own due time, course of time. But we need to begin, and the beginning is today. We have to get ourselves detached from all these things, because these anarthas are also the cause of your distress, your unhappiness. Many times when we are unhappy, it's because of the anarthas that we have in our life that we are not understanding. We are thinking that by getting attached to all these material things we will become happy, but that is exactly opposite. That's why Krishna is saying, I am going to deliver you this knowledge, and through this you will become detached from unwanted anarthas. So you got the point now. Anartha, it has to be removed from our consciousness. Detachment has to come. Now there are people who actually get detached, but they get detached out of frustration. Many times people, there is some frustration in life, they get detached, they want to give up everything. Why? Because they are so frustrated, because they didn't get what they were expecting. Sometimes, you know a boy falls in love with a girl, and then the girl ditches that boy, so he's frustrated. Automatically some detachment comes. Now there is some detachment, but that detachment is because of frustration. But this kind of detachment is temporary, because moment there is another girl that comes into life, then automatically another attachment will begin. So that means it is not complete detachment. So detachment out of frustration is going to be temporary. But there is also detachment out of love. It's very nice to know that actually you can get detached, but out of love. Is love itself not an attachment, Prabhuji? No. Pure love, and especially love towards Prabhupada and Krishna, is not going to be an attachment of this material sort that we think. It is completely something very different. What is that? A very nice, interesting analogy. There was one devotee, a disciple of Prabhupada. His name is Sham Sundar Prabhu. He's one of the very initial disciples of Prabhupada, and they had just joined Prabhupada in New York, and then when Prabhupada had moved to San Francisco for some time, this devotee also was there in San Francisco, and Prabhupada said that we should have Rath Yatra for Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra. So, but we don't have deities in New York, in San Francisco at that time. Where will you get Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra deities? Somebody, I think uh, one Mataji had got small Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, and Prabhupada said, "Oh, they are so beautiful. We should have bigger and deities, and then we should have Rath Yatra." So Prabhupada said, "Sham Sundara, you are good in carpentry. Why don't you carve the deities of Jagannatha? And these are the samples, small, small uh, deities of Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra." So he started. Now this Sham Sundar Prabhu, he was coming from the background of that hippie background. When he was actually carving these Jagannath deities, he was also smoking, carving and then smoking. And not just that, when he finished the smoking, he used to keep that bud on top of Jagannath deity, on the head of Jagannatha. And then he used to do all this. You just imagine what kind of, because they just don't know what is deity, they just don't know what it is. So, and then Prabhupada comes there, and then Prabhupada uh, sees that there is that cigarette bud on top of Jagannatha. And then, after seeing everything, talking to Shyam Sundara, Prabhupada just before leaving, he tells this Shyam Sundar Prabhu, he says that, why do you want a piece of paper come between you and Krishna? That's it. He just says that and then leaves. Prabhupada leaves from there. And then Shyam Sundar Prabhu, just listening to that one statement, he left smoking. He said never again he touched, you know, uh, cigarettes in his life. So this is detachment, but this detachment is out of love for the spiritual master. Because Shyam Sundar Prabhu had so much love for Prabhupada, and when Prabhupada said that one thing, he immediately accepted. So this is how we need to understand that we have to be detached. But this detachment that we're talking about is not simply that is being imposed upon us, but it should be coming from within because we want to love Krishna, we want to love Prabhupada. There are just like this small piece of paper that came between Shyam Sundar Prabhu and Jagannath. There are many small things in our life which are actually holding us back from actually loving Krishna. So when we actually take these unwanted attachments, it becomes very easy for us to love Krishna, and that's important, right? So we should know that there are some very nice questions that Krishna has asked, and many people actually they come to ISKCON. Why they come to ISKCON? Because it's a wonderful, a field for us. Now that we are going to discuss, it's a field, it's a place where we can actually become free from anarthas. We can remove all these unwanted weeds from our consciousness, and that is the place where we can all assemble together, and together we can come out of these anarthas. And that is Prabhupada's mission, that ISKCON is created so that we become free from our anarthas, which are deep rooted in our consciousness. That's why ISKCON means what? International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It is to have Krishna consciousness that we need to actually come and participate in ISKCON. So many times people actually come and they feel that okay, ISKCON is a wonderful place because I can socialize, because I can do some networking here, and actually there are some nice people and I want to be with nice people, and it is actually, but then you come to ISKCON and then you actually don't become Krishna conscious, then what is the use of being in ISKCON? So there are many people who actually are connected to the movement and they participate also, but how much are we actually Krishna conscious? How much in a day to day life that we remember Krishna, how we are conscious of Krishna? That is what is important. And that is where the jnana comes into picture. If we want to develop that Krishna consciousness, then jnana will play an important role. Because when we have knowledge, then everything that we see, everything that we hear, everything that we want to experience through this material body, we will try to analyze through jnana and make it Krishna conscious. That is why jnana is important. Ignorant person cannot do. It's not possible. So in our life also we should ask that is Krishna consciousness on in our life, or Krishna consciousness is off in our life? So this question we all need to ask ourselves. It's very important. Many times people are really conscious. They are very focused in their devotion. They're very focused in what they're doing in their service and everything, all the aspects of spiritual life. But some people actually they are into the temple, but then actually they are not Krishna conscious. That Krishna consciousness switches off, and it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem. That is why, for our benefit, Arjuna is asking some very fundamental questions, and these are something that we need to understand. Very important. This we cannot miss. We just cannot miss these questions. So what are these questions? So there are 6 questions that Arjuna has asked. And what are those questions? What is Prakriti? What is or who is the enjoyer, Purushaha? What is Kshetra? What is Kshetragna? And what is Jnanam? And what is Gneyam? Jnana is knowledge. Gneyam means what is the goal of knowledge. Kshetra is the field of activity, and Kshetragna means who is the knower of this Kshetra. Prakriti is the nature, enjoyer is the Purusha. So these actually are very important aspects of knowledge. Now, if you see in the very beginning of our discussion, Prabhupada explains in the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says that there are five things or the five subject matters of Bhagavad Gita which are discussed in Bhagavad Gita. What are the five subjects? The number one is Paramatma, the super soul, the Prakriti, the Jiva, right? And then there is Kala and Karma. So, understanding these five things are the core subject matters of Bhagavad Gita. And Arjuna is exactly asking these things here now. He's asking what is Prakriti, he's asking what is Purusha, who is the Purusha, that is the Lord, Kshetra, the field of activity, which actually indirectly also refers to the karma, because Kshetra and Kshetragna are related to karma, and then Jnana, knowledge, and Gneyam, the object, the goal of life. So these questions are going to be elaborated by Arjuna and Krishna. And what Krishna is saying, very important now. Krishna's answers are also very important. So, what is Prakriti? Mother Nature. You know, many times we ask that when we say Prakriti, it is Mother Nature. When you say Mother Nature, then very next indication is who is the father. If there is mother, then who is the father? So when we say Prakriti means it actually indicates that there is a father. We cannot simply say Mother Nature. Nature, moment we say Mother Nature, there is a father also. There is an indication there. And this is very important. So, what is this Prakriti? Prakriti means it has all these basic elements. What are the 24 elements we have? We have within our existence now, there are multiple things which are there. For example, the body. Now, when you say body, now the body is made up of five elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. Moment we say this body, then there are five senses of which acquire the knowledge, that is eyes, ears, nose, touch, huh, and tongue. So these are five knowledge acquiring senses. Then there are five working senses: hands, legs, your vocal cord, voice, your genitals, and rectum. So these are the five working senses. Though then, all these different senses have a master, and that master is the mind. Mind actually controls all these senses and the body. And mind is actually a part of what? A part of a subtle body, and subtle body constitutes of mind, intelligence, and ahankara, man, buddhi, and false ego, right? So then there is the atma. So now, if you carefully analyze all these things, this is actually comprising the Prakriti. This is the main thing that we have to understand. Of course, then there are the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. All these things are there, but this is the composition of Prakriti. Now, when Prakriti is created, we are a part of Prakriti. So Arjuna is asking, what is this Prakriti? I want to know more about this Prakriti. So, Prabhupada also explains in the purport very nicely that devotional service can be properly executed when we have the senses. Without senses, we cannot actually enjoy, neither we can actually experience or do any devotional service. That's not possible. So, Prakriti is important for us to do sadhana. Now, the body is actually made up of senses, right? Now, we are all identifying ourselves with the body, right? Now, when we say we are identifying with the body, who is identifying with the body? That is very important. Please understand, this is going to be philosophical. This section is like that. Now, there was an experiment done by some scientists. Very important. They were studying the brain. And when they actually made a person lie on an MRI or whatever machine they had, And they actually noted that when there is a rising of the hand, when a person, he raises his hand, a certain portion of his brain gets activated. A certain portion gets activated. So when the person was, lying, and then he was asked to actually raise the hand, they saw that there is a certain portion which is getting activated. And then the doctor asked him that who raised the hand. He said, I raised the hand. You see, he said, I raised the hand. And then he was again totally made to sleep now. And then, see, when they asked the patient to raise the hand, he raised the hand and that was activated. They saw that there is a certain portion in the brain that is activated. The next time, what the doctor did was they actually artificially, they didn't ask the patient to actually raise the hand, but artificially they triggered that portion of the brain. And when they triggered that portion of the brain, the hand actually got raised automatically. And then they asked the patient who raised the hand, and the patient said, you raised the hand. So this time the patient did not say that I raised the hand. It is very important why and how this is happening. That means there is a person within who actually is completely away or completely detached or separated from this body. So this is a very important thing to know. When he was asked, he raised his hand automatically, but the doctor, when artificially he triggered, then he said that I didn't raise, it is you who raised. That means there is a person who is away from this kshetra. So this body is a kshetra. That is the question that is asking. The body is a kshetra. But there is a person who is observing this kshetra, that is kshetragna. Kshetragna means one who knows this body. That means there is a person who is observing this body. But unfortunately, what is illusion? What is Maya? Maya is I'm thinking that I'm not the observer, but I am only this body. That is Maya. Getting the point? See, to make you understand. Now, this is what? It is a mobile. So when somebody asks me that I'm suppose now, I'm in a college. I'm a college boy. There is some guest who has come on the stage and he asked me, "What is in your hand?" I will say it's mobile. Then the same person is going to ask me. The guest is going to ask me, "Who are you?" And I will say that I am a student of this college. Why I say I am a student of this college? Because I am identifying with my surrounding. I am a part of this college. I say I am a student of this college. When I go to another place, suppose there is a party, and then there is a lot of guests that have come, and actually I have been taken to that party by another devotee, and then a visitor there, he comes and asks me, "What is in your hand?" I will say, "It's my mobile." "Who are you?" "Actually, I am a friend of so and so. He has brought me here." See, now what happened? I changed my identity. In the first instance, in the college, I said I am a student, but the mobile was the mobile in the college. And when I went to the party, when somebody asked me, "What is this?" I said, "It's a mobile." But my identity changed. Now I'm a friend of somebody else. So, actually, based on my time, place, circumstances, situations, I changed my identity. But this mobile did not change its identity. Whether it was in the college or whether it was in a party, the identity of the mobile did not change, but my identity changed. Now the question is, do I also have an identity which is unchanging like this mobile? Because wherever I go, it will remain as a mobile. But my identities are changing. So we should ask ourselves. So this is a very deep subject matter. If we can know our true identity, then we will actually not face any identity crisis in our life. There are so many people today's life, they're confused. Today, if you go in the world, there are many people are totally, thoroughly confused. They are big achievers in their life. They are really achieved a lot of name and fame, but they have no clue who they are, and that's why they are frustrated in life. Many people, after acquiring a lot of name and fame, a lot of money, they are not happy. Why are they not happy? Because identity crisis. They do not know who they are. Now, you just imagine, Dave, just imagine, this is for imagination only. But imagine you're coming from college to your home. You know, when you are actually coming back from your college to home, in the journey, every time you're sitting in a bus, you're sitting in a bus or a auto or a whatever car. See, if you are moving in your own car, the moment you come out of the college, what happens is, first thing is, out of so many cars in the parking lot, you will identify with your car. So first identification is happening. You identify. Then, yes, that's my car. You go get into the car, start moving. When you start moving towards your home, on the way you see a certain mall. Moment you see that mall, that you identify with that mall, you know, my home is just about 20 minutes from here now. See, moment you see that mall, what's happening? You are thinking that I'm just 20 minutes away. Identification. Then, moment you enter your society, you will not simply go in here there. You will see there are so many towers there. In out of so many towers, you will identify with your tower only. Yes, this is my tower. The identification is happening. Then every tower has so many parking slots. When you get into the parking lot again, you will identify with your parking lot, right? You will exactly go. Then after getting out of the car, you go to the lift. And then when you identify, get inside that, what happens is you will not simply press any button. What will you do? You will press the button which is going to your floor. You identify with that button. Then you go on top, you reach the floor. There are about five, six houses on the same floor. But you will not enter any house. You will identify with your home. See, I'm telling you, this is very important. Every time when people identify with the things they are around them, every time you get identified with the similar objects, you have a sense of security. You are feeling, yes, I'm now reaching home. And moment you actually ring the bell and, you know, Hinamataji opens the door, you get inside the home, what happens is you identify with your room. You will go exactly to your room, you identify, and then you keep your bag there. Every time there is a identification that happens, then what happens is there is a sense of security that comes, right? Now imagine, it's very important. You all have wonderful dinner together, right? And then you go to the bedroom, and then you keep an alarm, and then you go to sleep. Morning, when you wake up, morning when you wake up, Dave, you do not wake up in your bedroom, but you wake up somewhere deep in a desert in Afghanistan. Then what happens? Then what happens? Please understand, this is a very important question. You need to ask this. What happens? Just imagine and you tell me now. What happens to you when you actually wake up deep in the forest or deep in the desert? And just tell me what happens to you at that point. You slept in your bedroom actually, but imagine and think what happens to you morning when you wake up. Wake you woke up somewhere deep in the desert. What happens? Tell me.
Feeling lost, like I don't know where I am.
First thing that happens to you will be you will be thoroughly scared, because all the objects that you are trying to identify and you are identifying, none of them is actually with you right now. The place that you identified, the mall that you identified, the parking lot, the car, all those different objects that you were identifying yourself with yourself was giving you a sense of security. But moment you're out of that zone, you have nothing to identify. Moment you lose that, your environment, you are totally insecure, and that creates fear. So what gives a sense of uh, that fear is because There's nothing to identify. So this is why people get lost, and this is called identity crisis. Because there is nothing that they can identify. When you are put into a new zone altogether, there is fear that comes in. You go to a creepy deep forest somewhere deep within, you don't know anything about it, you will have fear because you are not having anything that you could identify, right? So this is a deep subject matter. So when Arjuna is asking these questions about what is prakriti, what is kshetra, what is kshetragna, why specifically we need to know the kshetra and kshetragna is because first thing that helps you is you will come out of the identity crisis. Sorry for that interruption. Now you please understand your whole process of identification is gone. So that's why a self-realized soul, when he understands that I am a spirit soul, his identity is not dependent on anything external. He is not identifying with the car, he's not identifying the home, he's not identifying with his people, he's not identifying with the mall, he's not identifying himself with any of these material objects. And that is why a self-realized soul is fearless. That is kshetragna. Kshetra and kshetragna. Who is a kshetragna? A kshetragna is one who knows what is his body. At the same time, he knows that I'm not this body. That is kshetragna. Just knowing about this body is not important. It's also important to know that I'm not this body. Because as long as we identify with this body, it is going to create fear. And a fearful person actually cannot become self realized. Getting the point? So it is a very deep subject. It's a science in itself. It's a science in itself. It's a philosophical thing that we are going to have here now. So that is why Prabhupada is saying the field of activity is the body. So what is the field of activity? Why it is called the field? It is called kshetra. This body is called kshetra. What do you do in a kshetra? What happens in the kshetra? Like a farmer. What does he do? He sows the seeds. He does a lot of activity. Then he gets the crops, right? The result of all his activity is the final that fruits he will get, right? So similarly, in this sharira, in this kshetra, we get an opportunity to perform our karma. When we perform our karma, and based on karma and kala, we get our results, right? So there is karma and there is kala. Both these gives us a certain result. So this body becomes a field of activity. Day in and out, we are performing so many good, bad, ugly things. Everything is done through this body, this sharira. So this is a kshetra. But beyond this kshetra, there is a kshetragna. Who is that? Atma is the kshetragna. That is important. Very, very important. That is a kshetragna. So uh, how important it is to know oneself, now you can understand. Because without knowing one's own true identity, this knowledge will make no sense. We can talk big, big things. We can talk about Prakriti, about God, and all those things are there. But unless we really know ourselves, how can we be happy? We want to give happiness to others, but when you yourself are lost and have no clue who you are, then where is the question of actually being happy? So we should disidentify. The first detachment, when we are talking about detachment, the first detachment is with this body. So we have to first understand how to cut off, this connection with the body. That is very important, right? So there is a difference between the kshetra and the kshetragna. So Prabhupada is explaining that these two things are not same. The field of activity and the knower of the field is completely different. Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tata dehantara prapti dhira tatra muyati. 2.13, Prabhupada has, Krishna explains that how we, from a small boy, baby, we have become a boy, and then we grow up to become a nice teenager, and then from becoming a teenager we become grown up person, and then we become old. Our body is continuously changing. But although the body is changing, me as a person have not changed. I remember everything that I did in my childhood. I still remember all the little things that I've done, right? And all those experiences I'm carrying forward. That means there is a person within me, and that is I. I'm not changing, but my kshetra is changing continuously. It according to the kala, the kshetra is changing. This is important. Many people today, they have no clue about this. They are thinking that I am only this body. They're thinking that they are the body. And because they're thinking that they are this body, it becomes a problem. They're not happy. So, this is the first step in knowledge. The first step to become happy is to know that I'm not this body, not this kshetra. So, of course, there are many things. One by one, we will understand. But we will also cover the third verse. So, Hina Mataji, you can unmute yourself and let's chant the 13th verse so that, we, yeah. So, this is the third verse, sorry, 13th chapter, third verse. क्षेत्रज्ञं चापि मां विद्धि
क्षेत्रज्ञं चापि मां विधि
सर्वक्षेत्रेषु भारत
सर्वक्षेत्रेषु भारत
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोर्ज्ञानम्
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोर्ज्ञानम्
यत्तज्ज्ञानं मतं मम.
यत्तज्ज्ञानं मतं मम.
Once again, क्षेत्रज्ञं चापि मां विद्धि
क्षेत्रज्ञं चापि मां विधि
सर्वक्षेत्रेषु भारत
सर्वक्षेत्रेषु भारत
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोर्ज्ञानम्
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोर्ज्ञानम्
यत्तज्ज्ञानं मतं मम.
यत्तज्ज्ञानं मतं मम.
Wonderful. Please read the translation.
O sign of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies, and to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. That is my opinion. Hare Krishna.
Wonderful. So this is amazing here. What Krishna is saying, he is saying that, oh, sign of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies. See? And to understand this body and its knower is called the knowledge. That is my opinion. Matam mama. He's saying this is my mata. So, see, there is Kshetra, body. There is Kshetragna, that is the Atma. What Krishna is saying, and Prabhupada also says in the purport, he's saying there is the body, there is the soul, and there is super soul. Prabhupada is the first person who actually has coined this word, super soul, like Superman, like super soul. So, Paramatma is the super soul. Why super soul? Because he is also the knower, but he is the knower of all the bodies, all the kshetras. That is Krishna. I can know what is happening within my kshetra. Actually, I do not know completely what is happening within my body right now. When I eat food, I really don't know how it gets digested. We just eat it nicely. Oh, chalo, nice donut is there, nice halwa is there, and I eat it. But what happens within the body, what happens to the halwa and the donut within our bodies, we really have no clue. We don't have that complete jnana. We just eat it. But still, to some extent, we have jnana on this body because sometimes when there is some pain, I understand, oh, yes, there is a pain here. When there is some sensation in the body, my eye is twitching or some part of my body is twitching. I know. That means I have a certain jnana. When my belly is full after eating, I have a jnana. Oh, I am full now. So I am a kshetragna, but my understanding is limited. But whereas Krishna is super jnana, I mean, he's super kshetra jnana, jnani. He knows not just about our body completely, but he knows completely about all the bodies. So that is Krishna, and that is what Krishna is telling Arjuna here. I know everything. Just for example, what is the example? Na? You there is a car. You want a cab, right? You get into the cab. So in the cab there is the car, then there is the driver, and then there is a this you as a customer, as a passenger, right? So as a passenger, I'm sitting in the car. The car represents the Prakriti, Kshetra, right? And then there is the driver. He knows everything about the car, the features of the car, what happens, what goes wrong, what goes right, everything in the car. He knows very well. He is like the Paramatma, the driver. But I am a passenger. I know a little bit of car, maybe the model number and all these things, but I really don't know every intricate things about the car. I know a little bit. I'm a passenger there. So in this Sharira, this is like a car. I have rented this Sharira, this Kshetra, I have rented for some time. But the owner is Krishna, but I have rented. Now, a tenant cannot say that this whole house belongs to me. A tenant cannot. A owner can say that. So I am a tenant. We all are tenants in this body. This body really doesn't belong to us. It is given to us because we can pay a certain amount of punya karma. Well, okay, chalo, you take this body. It is being given to us by Prakriti and by Krishna. So we are not the owners of this. This Sharira is belonging to Krishna. But we, as tenants, we stay in this body. So that is why Krishna is saying here that he is the owner of each and every body. Everybody. But I can know only about. I really don't know what is happening within your body. I cannot understand what is happening in your mind. Sometimes I don't even know what is happening in my own mind, what to speak about yourself, right? So we really can't understand. But Krishna as Paramatma, super soul, he will know everything that is happening within my mind, my body, your mind, and your body, everybody's mind and body, Krishna knows. That is the super soul. And then Krishna is saying, what is knowledge? Knowledge is to know what is matter, what is spirit, and the difference between matter and spirit, that is jnana. Please understand, to know what is matter, to know what is spirit, and to know what is the super soul, and the difference between all these three is true knowledge. Is true knowledge. Uh, Now, as according to our syllabus that we have studied so far, right? It is not knowledge. As per Bhagavad Gita, all that we have studied in our school and college is not knowledge. It's not complete knowledge. We have studied matter and matter also not completely in our schools and colleges. We have a very limited understanding of matter also. You getting the point? Actually, Krishna in the further verses is going to explain. He's going to explain what is knowledge and how to acquire knowledge. It is mind blowing. Items of knowledge, wise in that items of knowledge. What are items of knowledge? We will go crazy. We will understand more about it, but it is something that we should know. Now, coming back to the questions here. Coming back to the question, what is Prakriti? We have understood. What is enjoyer? That is the Purusha. Kshetra, this body. Kshetragna, one who knows. And Krishna is Kshetragna, plus he is a super Kshetragna. What is Jnanam? Jnana means what is to know what is matter, to know what is spirit, to know what is the super spirit, then the difference between them. That is Jnanam. And what is Gneyam? That, of course, Krishna is going to explain in the future. Gneyam means the goal, the object of knowledge. I acquire knowledge. But what is the goal of that knowledge? That also is important. That Krishna will explain in the next upcoming verses. So this is a very philosophical section of the Bhagavad Gita, and there are many wonderful things that will be revealed here. And this jnana is important for all of us because it will cut off, it will help us to detach ourselves. So we should become serious in our practice of detachment through knowledge. That is important. Any questions? Any question? Anybody has any questions?
Prabhuji,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask with relation to just we have Laddu Gopal, we make Laddu Gopal have a bath. So
Hmm.
what should we do of the water that we make him have a bath with? Like, how should we use that water?
If you are doing Panchamrita Abhishekam, then of course you can all drink it. But if it is just water, a little bit you can take the first initial thing. But later on, you because you clean it sometime with the lemon and other things and you polish it. So in that case, that can be offered to the plants. The water can be offered to the plants.
Okay. And the clothes, how should we wash them? Because it should not be washed with normal clothes. How do we wash them and how do we dispose that
Yes,
water
you
or
need
use that water?
because anyway, Laddu Gopal and you're going to have a separate section. Actually, what some devotees do is they have a very separate small bucket or a mug for exclusive for washing the DT clothes. That much is enough. And similarly, devotees also have to wash their chanting bags. They also keep a separate small buckets. So in that only they don't really mix with other. Clothes to wash. So for DTs, they keep a small separate bucket or something container, and they take uh, just like you wash regular clothes, you wash the regular clothes and dry it in a separate area, and then you can iron it and keep it. So you need to have a separate bucket and separate mug like that for
Okay, so
your handling bags also and for the DT clothes. Yeah.
that water inside from which we wash, how do we dispose it? Because
You can put it to the plants. Now, for the abhishekam that you have done, you can put it to the plants. But the cloth that you have washed need not actually be put to the. I mean, you can or you can also dispose it in the sink. No problem. But the
okay,
abhishekam water should be actually offered to the plants. That can be offered to the plants.
right. And one last thing is that the old clothes, which might be little torn, how do we dispose them or how do we keep them?
Yes, so generally some devotees, if it is pure cotton, then you can actually in the ocean or something that's organic, it can be disposed of in the nature, especially in some water bodies. Um, that is here generally when there are some clothes like that, we give to the different temples. Some small temples will be there. They require some clothes, so we donate to the small temple, the temple DT clothes here. So if there is someone, if it is torn, then it is unusable. Then you can dispose them in the water somewhere.
Okay, okay, Prabhu.
You can take off all the unwanted plastic things if it is there, and then dispose of. Both you can separately dispose.
Okay,
So
Prabhu, that's it.
right. So thank you so much for joining, and there are many more wonderful things that Krishna is going to explain in the 13th chapter. There are a lot of deep things that we are going to understand, and very interesting things. Really, it's an eye opener. This whole chapter is an eye opener for us. Think about the analogies that we have discussed today. It is quite deep. Okay. Thank you so much for joining. All of you who have joined on YouTube, you can comment. You can say Hare Krishna. We will again see you next Sunday. Until then, please take care. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna.